What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Blind Power and welcome to the WWDC 2020 recap. Today we're going to go through everything Apple announced at the keynote, and we are going to talk about all the features and the impacts on accessibility and so forth. So first I want to get started with iOS 14. iOS 14 is a stability update. So all the odd updates are essentially feature releases, and all the even ones are essentially going to be stability improvements. So iOS 8, 10, 12, 14, all stability improvements. 7, 9, 11, 13, feature updates. So basically odd, more features, even, less features, more stable. So in iOS 14, we got quite a bit of features. Organized home screen, so you get to disable pages and essentially hide away the apps that you don't need, and as well as a new page where at the end of your screen you get these grouped pages. It essentially groups your apps into categories after the second row. So second row below, you get all the categories: social media, Apple Arcade games, depending on what category your apps fall into. The first row is actually your recent apps. So those apps that you use that are provided to you that Siri shortcut says that you should use. So when you swipe down the current apps that you get there, that's what that means. And next to that, you actually get recently downloaded. So you recently downloaded an app. You don't have to go hunting for it. It's just there. That's pretty cool. So that is the home screen. I like how you can have widgets now as well. And for accessibility, this is amazing because you don't have to open up the weather app, get the weather. You simply open up your widgets and move your finger around and get the weather. It's not the same as the widgets we have right now where like you have to swipe to the right and get that weird stacked widgets. No, you actually get, your apps can turn to widgets and you can have widgets in your home screen. So you scroll over them, it could tell you like the weather or stocks, whatever you want the widgets to be. Every app can have widgets, customizable widgets, so you can get information at a glance. And for screen reader users, this is great because you don't have to go digging for information. It's easier to get to stuff. I like this whole design of widgets and grouping. It's very nice. So iMessages got a whole redesign on all platforms. So you can now group. It seems to be a common thing in this WWDC. You can group your friends. So you have a group conversation. You can add a image, so like a group profile image. And also you can mention people. So at something or at somebody. You can also reply to a thread, a specific message, essentially creating sub-threads in your messages. So that's a pretty handy feature. The Mac app of iMessage now has those animations. So it used to say replied with open bracket, balloons, close bracket. Now it'll actually display the balloons instead of saying you replied with balloons. So that's a nice and handy feature. Mac apps tend to be a little behind. Like iMessage was based off of something called iChat, so that's why it was so like behind, because they had to rebuild the app to make it work. I mentioned that they used something called Catalyst, so essentially bringing an iPad app to the Mac. They didn't say so, but I'm fairly certain they did, so that's why that app works so well. So the next features on iOS are Siri and phone calls. These two, I group them together because they don't take up the entire screen anymore. You get a phone call or you ask Siri something, it'll display on the Siri suggestions, it'll display on the bottom. So when you ask for Siri, it'll show a little bubble on the bottom, and on the top it'll show, if you ask the weather or ask for any information, it'll display on the top. And it's okay for accessibility. Now what's not okay for accessibility is this phone screen. I hope they have a way to toggle it off, the whole partial phone screen thing, because when you get a phone call, it displays on the top of your screen. If you're using a screen reader, it is very hard to get to that part of the screen because of the fact that you have to slide your phone up, and one-handed usability is not that easy. And also, if you're multitasking, you're doing something while you're on the phone, for example, that top phone screen essentially makes it uncomfortable for accessibility users because of the fact that you have to move your cursor or like swipe to the left all the way to get to the top of the screen if you use the swiping gestures, or if you move your hand to the top of the screen and you're one-handed, you have to stretch your hand all the way to the top to get to the answer or decline button. I'm not a fan of that because previously we were able to have those two buttons on the bottom of the screen. I hope this is draggable. We'll see what happens. I'm going to tinker with the settings once I get my hands on it. So that's all for iOS. iOS is jam-packed with features. There's a lot of maps updates as well, such as bicycling, but I don't know, like it's just minor changes. You know, the Maps app is coming to UK, Canada, and Ireland, I believe. There's 3 countries that are getting the Maps update, and Maps now has cycling, so you can choose bike paths, etc. So that's all the Maps stuff. So that, you know, it's not a big deal. It's nice to have, but it's not really a big change. Now, on WatchOS, custom watch faces, so developers can create, and consumers as well can create custom watch faces. I'm excited because we can share watch faces, so I'll create a talking watch face and I'll share it with everybody in the blind community. And with WatchOS, this is pretty cool, but now you have sleep tracking, so you can track your sleep and getting all your sleep data as well. So that's pretty cool, getting more data about you and learn more about yourself by artificial intelligence. It detects everything from your breathing and all sorts of small algorithmic stuff. So for WatchOS, there wasn't that many things that it announced. You know, it was that, and then it was also washing your hands. It'll now display a counter when it detects that you wash your hands. It also added dancing as a sport and some other sports that they didn't mention, but they did say there were some new ones. As well as sort of like an app store for these watch faces, so people can like share watch faces and share it with their friends, get it on, share them on social media, and they can just kind of download them, these watch faces. So that's pretty cool. And WatchOS, that's what we have so far. Now, when I get my hands on WatchOS 7 beta, I will do video on it. So that's WatchOS. With tvOS, there wasn't that many changes. macOS. So with macOS, they made some security changes to Safari, allowing for more compatibility, developer stuff. And they made a redesign, so they kind of changed the user interface design language with macOS. It's not really going to affect you accessibility-wise. What is going to affect you accessibility-wise is there's a control center for Mac now, so you can disable or enable dark mode. You can have shortcuts that may be handy, and you can also rearrange them. So a little bit of customization. That's nice because you can have certain shortcuts such as the dark mode and light mode. If you know, depending on your eye sensitivity, you may want to switch around. That's pretty cool. You don't longer have to dig in settings. And you know, with macOS, it's just mainly like design language, and also they're switching to ARM, so a new processor made by Apple. So essentially what it allows you is to essentially get faster, cheaper Macs. They don't say that, but ARM, right now the price of an iPad is $1,000, and it's the power of a $3,000 computer. So imagine what Apple can do with a $3,000 computer. You can get the specifications of a $10,000 computer. So that's kind of cool. They're making things a little more favorable for the consumer, more power, less money type of thing. They're not saying it, but as an engineer, I can tell you that's what's going to happen. My speculation. So they did a lot of like virtualization. They seem to be getting a lot of stuff for developers. They didn't mention any other features. They did show a menu for AirPods, but I'm not sure how that's going to work. We have to get our hands on that beta and test that as well. So that's basically it for like all the main big features of the platform. Another thing I forgot to mention for iOS is that the Activity app has been renamed Fitness because you can now track a lot more stuff such as sleeping and whatnot. So it's not just activity, so they renamed it to Fitness. So that's my WWDC recap. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment, rate, subscribe. Stay tuned for more content. I have a very important video coming out soon. It's testing input delay with VoiceOver on and off. Does VoiceOver really reduce input delay or improve input delay? We will talk about that in an upcoming video. Thanks for watching.